Padmashi, should we go ahead and start?
Just a minute, Madhvi. I'm just trying to give the YouTube link to everyone.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Madhvi, please start.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining today's Step Up Mentoring Program session. And hope you had great Patkuma and Dasara festival. And I know most of you are looking forward for Diwali. Me too. So hope you enjoy upcoming vacation holidays as well. So again, thanks for joining today's session, and which is initiated by our OU Chemistry alumni and with the support of OU Department of Chemistry and head of the Department of Chemistry Department. And as you know, the intention of this program is empower and encourage research scholars and students and take this opportunity, the mentoring opportunity, to provide some guidance and which can help you in your career development. So with that, previously we had several sessions where we had presenters from our alumni who can go through their research work and just shed some knowledge around, and also from people who are working in the industry to explain their experiences and provide guidance on how the job market and industry works as an overall with their experiences. So recently speaking with some of the students and also understanding the needs of how the industry is growing in a global market, and also encourage students, we thought to bring up an entrepreneur series which will help students to gain some knowledge on if you are planning to start a startup company, what is the knowledge that you need to acquire, and also how you prepare to start a company and how you plan to start a company, and what are the things that you need to be knowing to go into this path. So thinking that, we have asked a few of our seniors and also reached out to a few other folks who are not part of the alumni, and ask them to present and give their journey to you so that you guys can prepare if you want to go in this path as your career goal. So with that, next 4 sessions, we are planning to invite several presenters who can come and walk us through their journey so that we can understand how they plan for this career aspirations which they built in their career goal. So with that, today's session, I want to invite Dr. Mahinders Dawal, who is well-known researcher and also entrepreneur, to walk us through his career journey, his professional journey, and also give a good glimpse of his entrepreneurship, how the plan came into his mind to start a company, and how he prepared himself to start this company, and what kind of efforts he's putting into to run and grow this company. So before I introduce Dr. Mahinders Dawal, I wanted to give a glimpse of today's overall session is after Dr. Dawal's presentation, I invited one of our mentees, which is Priya Sharma, to come and present her experience of this mentorship, because she has been as a part of the mentee from the beginning of this program, and there are several sessions has been done. So I invited her to present a few minutes of our experiences, and it's really nice that she accepted it, and she's going to present it today, what this mentoring program meant to her, and how it has been going so far. So that would be a special attraction of today's. So please hang around after our presentation with Dr. Mahinder. Dr. Ms. Priya is going to present. So with that, I would like to welcome Dr. Mahinder to walk us through his entrepreneurship. So before that, I just wanted to give very brief introduction about Dr. Dawal, because he has been here presented in various forms. Probably most of you know him and we heard from him before, but people who are joining for the first time, just to give a glimpse of his background is, Dr. Dawal received his bachelor degree with chemistry and biology as majors from Giriraj Government College, Usmania University, Nizamabad. And then he received his PhD in organic chemistry from Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, University of South Carolina, Columbia, US. And he has completed his postdoctoral studies from Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences in Wayne State University, Detroit. And he's worked as a research scientist at Department of Chemistry, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is MIT, Cambridge, Massachusetts. And now he's an entrepreneur and also a founder and the head of the research product development of Expansion Technologies, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Mahinder. Please present your entrepreneurship journey, how you planned, and how you are planning to run this company, and what are your plans to grow this company, and how much effort you are putting to drive this career goal as your aspiration. So with that, Dr. Mahinder.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Madhavi, for your kind introduction. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I would like to thank the OU Alumni Association, Department of Chemistry, professors, students, scholars, my fellow alumni members for initiating such a wonderful program to help our own students from our own university. And then, I'm feeling honored to present today again. I am the one who initiated the mentoring session. I kicked off the mentoring session event, and now I'm kicking off the entrepreneurial session as well. So I feel this is an honor. Thank you, Madhavi, for making me do this today. So as Madhavi mentioned, right, so I put some thoughts into it, how to present my journey, where to begin, where to, how to take it on. And when Madhavi said entrepreneurial journey, I'm not an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur yet. I'm a budding entrepreneur because I'm in the middle of the path where I have started, and I'm still ongoing. I'm moving. My journey is still on. It's not yet. It is on a stage where in the middle, but not at the end stage where you can say successfully, like several others, other alumni are probably going to come and present in upcoming weeks. So what I thought is, so I can present even what I learned. How you can become an entrepreneur? What do you need? How do you find the resources? How do you find the ideas and things? What are the opportunities out there in the world? How can you catch it? So these kind of things I decided to present. So without a further delay, let me share my presentation, and then we'll get going. I believe everyone can see my presentation, right? Can somebody say yes or no?
Yes, yes, we can see Mahinder.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Just give me 1 second. All right.
Mahinder, one minute. I
Sure.
just wanted to apologize that I totally missed head of the department introduction. Okay, Padmashri, I apologize for that, and I missed to introduce.
Yeah, Dr.
Padmavati.
Madhvi, actually, I lost my connection. I had to log in again, so I couldn't even tell that. Yeah, Dr. Padmavati was to, welcome actually.
Yeah, I think Padmasri madam, that's fine. Like already, Madam Madhvi madam.
Yeah.
Started.
I think
we'll go ahead with it next time. We can do it.
Yeah,
No problem.
Since,
She already introduced everybody.
Since Dr. already, Mahinder already started.
He already started.
Go
right?
along, not
No
to
problem,
disturb.
madam.
I totally
go ahead,
apologize.
sir.
That was my
My
mistake.
apologies
problem,
too. I
madam.
lost the connection actually. Sorry.
Yeah. Sir, please go ahead, Mahinder. Sir.
Yes, Dr. Mahinder, please.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
go.
Yeah, and I also have to convey my thanks to our head of the department, Professor Humay sir, for all his support and encouragement to not only the students and scholars, but also giving us the fellow alumni the opportunity. Thank you so much, sir. So, the title, probably some of you may have noticed, is that my journey, knowledge and experience as a budding entrepreneur. Okay, so this is an overview what I'm going to present today. So I'm going to start with the entrepreneurial path. So I'm going to give an overview of how to start, where to begin, and how you can take on the entrepreneurial path. Then what stages are there and in this path. So then I'm going to give some discussion on the stages and steps and the resources. I'll provide some resources that I came across. And there are many resources probably there, but I'm presenting what I came across. And then I'm going to give a couple of examples of some successful organizations which were started as a startup, but now they were grown as a big pharmaceutical or therapeutic entities. Then later on, I'm going to present the technology that I'm working on. And unfortunately, I cannot give additional details because still we're growing startup. When you enter into the startup world, these words you often get to hear. 1 second. Yeah, so these words often you get to hear: intellectual property, IP, freedom to operate, confidentiality, conflict of interest, non-disclosure agreement, NDA, confidential disclosure agreement, CDA. These type of words you get to hear a lot. So because of all these factors, I may not share some of the details within the company that I'm working with, but what I can do is I can share the technology and the idea, where it started and how it is, what it is. Okay. So in the entrepreneurial path, the very first question everybody's mind comes up is, who is an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneurship? So I found these definitions. So there's a website called Investopedia. You get a lot of information about the investments and the entrepreneurial journey. If somebody has a time, please go ahead and read. According to it, what it says is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risks and enjoying most of the rewards. That is, I feel like it's kind of appropriate. And two other definitions that I found about the entrepreneurship is in the dictionary, standard dictionary, it says the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. I kind of didn't like the word called hope. No, it's not a hope. But when I found what I found on Wikipedia is capacity and willingness to develop and organize and manage a business, a venture along with any of its risks to make the profit, not the hope, the profit. You have to make the profit. When that's what makes you to be successful. So these are the kind of definitions that I found, thought of sharing with you. So what is the goal of an entrepreneur? So before we yes, I want to be an entrepreneur, but what is your ultimate goal? So when most of the people thinks that, making money, getting rich, be successful, and so on and on and on. But there is a sweetness in biotech entrepreneurship. Some of the biotech entrepreneurs are kind of motivated to bring a scientific invention to the people. They feel very happy when their own product or a service can help people making diagnosing their diseases or treating people or curing people, millions and millions of people. So that's where the biotech entrepreneurs kind of stand. But the question is how easy, how difficult it is to become an entrepreneur. Is it worth of considering? And can I try? Can I do it? Let's take a look at what are the steps and stages are there. But before we get into that, so I have listed here different types of entrepreneurships. A normal entrepreneurship, he could be an entrepreneur is nothing but an owner and who takes risks. I mean, we have seen the definitions, right? A normal entrepreneur is you can start a small business, any business. It could be a small pawn shop, or it could be a big entity or enterprise or something like that, right? But in certain businesses, depending upon the market, their risk levels are kind of low for a normal entrepreneurship. But when it comes to the tech and biotech, the tech entrepreneurship is started kind of in early 2000s. Well, it's been there from late 90s or mid 90s. The technology, which is mostly come to the software and computers, right? But early 2000s, it's kind of boomed up. You can see Facebook, Dropbox, LinkedIn, all these kind of technology companies, Microsoft, Apple, all these came up, right? But Apple, Microsoft were there since mid 70s, but they boomed since like late 90s or early 2000s, and then this became much more popular technology entrepreneurship. Nowadays also it's very popular as well, but the risk is kind of moderate probably. All you need is a few computers or a couple of people sit at home, or you can start something. You can implement your idea. That's why I kind of think this is maybe a moderate risk. But when it comes to the biotech entrepreneur, so he can be an owner or contractor, you have to have a knowledge in science, chemistry, biology, technology. You can take a business risk, and the technology risk is much more higher in here for the biotech entrepreneur. No, not only the business risk, but also scientific risk is there. When you invent something, if you want to bring it to the people, there is a risk. Adaptability risk is there, and access risk is there, and the working risk also there. So that is called a scientific risk. So I feel that biotech entrepreneurship is a little bit riskier than the other entrepreneurships. So yes, and how a biotech entrepreneur is different from the rest of the entrepreneurs. So if you can take a look at it, a person that understands, a biotech entrepreneur has to understand multiple things, not just one, not only the business or product. You have to understand science, technology, business, marketing, and finance. It's not just that, I've done a chemistry PhD or I've done biology or something else. It's not sufficient. So you start thinking, learning about all the other areas of the market as well, like business and finance. So that's why, this picture kind of emphasizes a biotech entrepreneur's overall view. So he has to think about many, many different things. That's why most of the biotechnology founders of the biotechnology companies are kind of typically scientists, physicians, engineers, or some individuals who has a huge knowledge in the technology, in various different technologies. That's where so people like us, the people with the science background, scientific knowledge, are kind of more suitable towards this kind of biotech entrepreneurial journey. And the qualities. What kind of qualities do you need a biotech entrepreneur, as a biotech entrepreneur? So very first thing is a strong determination. Before you jump into the water, you must be determined that I'm going to swim. I have to swim to survive. That's what is very important. Then you have to have a perseverance. Yes, you can swim, but how fast you can swim? You have to swim to survive. That's what is another important factor. The other thing is confidence. You must have a confidence. Without a confidence, you can't do anything. Then the good communication skills, not only the presenting the your ideas or your goals, but also you have to have a patience to listen others so that understand others. The most important another thing is multitasking. You can see that you should be able to do many things, just not like entrepreneur is not like you just go in a nice office, you sit in there and then you run the people. No, that's not what. If there's a problem in the lab, let's say there's a leaky sink in the lab, you have to go and fix it. You have to be prepared for that. Not like you have to be prepared to go and get fixed it. And there's a hood, chemical hood is not working. You need to walk in the lab and start. You have to know how to fix it as well. So this is called multitasking in there. That also comes into this entrepreneurial journey. Not only like speaking to the business people or marketing people or investors or the other industries for partnering purposes. So this is called multitasking. And you have to be strong when you face criticism. So yes, being an entrepreneur individual, you face some criticism, you face some appreciation, but you have to be strong to face the criticism. However, you need to be humble to take the appreciation as well. You have to have a decisiveness, adaptability. You have to make decisions in critical, difficult situations. You don't have enough time, but you have to make a decision. You have to be wise, and once you make the decision, you have to adapt to it and then make it happen. And you have to have a skill, evaluation, analytical skills to the risk and benefit in that particular situation. And other things are like, you have to leave the comfort zone, forget about it. Once you decided to become an entrepreneur, there's no comfort. Delete this word from your dictionary, comfort zone. You have to be prepared for it at any time in 24 hours to do when a task comes up. And like I said, again, manage the risk at many levels, not just one, many levels, with many people. And you have to be a problem solver and a good negotiator as well. So here I have listed few different types of startups which can grow into big entities. The best thing is called pharmaceuticals, therapeutics, right? You can start with small molecule drugs, biological drugs. Lately, there are two things being more popular: cell therapy and gene therapy, which comes under this area, which is called pharmaceuticals or therapeutics. And other areas, diagnostics, where you can you can sell the reagents, you can you can create the reagents or kits, assays, testing, diagnostic tests. You can set up a diagnostic lab to do the tests, such as a laboratory services, do the diagnostic laboratory service or a chemical laboratory service. And the technologies, you can create the devices, instruments, where you can do a startup with creating some device, a medical device that can scan or do some diagnosis, or instrument that can help the researchers to do their research. You can create or you can design and define that as well. Lately, these three other also becoming more and more popular. Personalized medicine, this is very hot nowadays. Creating a medicines, a particular person based on their body type or their genetic information. Genomics and proteomics, related to DNA and RNA. Diagnostics. In the diagnostics, these are becoming much more and prominent nowadays. The other thing is bioinformatics. Again, in the science also, science plus technology. Like as I mentioned in my previous slides, technology is making a huge role. Like I said, with a moderate risk, you can create much more bigger companies, like the examples that I gave. So bioinformatics provides that opportunity. There are so many startups out there which started with one or two persons in a small dorm room with the two computers. And also that's a bioinformatics companies. So based on what you start with, I kind of divided two types of these companies, like low to moderate risk companies, and then high risk companies, high risk biotech companies. Low moderate risk companies are kind of let's say custom research organization, custom synthesis organization, these kind of things. You may not come up with huge investment or huge things. You can the idea doesn't have to be very novel or completely new, or a pathology diagnostic lab, right? You can start a diagnostic lab with available material, available kits, available things, right? And as I mentioned, the bioinformatics, that's also another goal. Like you can start with the persons with computers, computational models you will build, and as long as you can sell it, your idea, well, you can do that. These are, I feel like this kind of low to moderate risk is there, but anything that novel, something that new you invented, it could be a new diagnostic method, a new therapeutic method, novel materials, novel new device or instrument. I remember, back in the days when MRI, magnetic resonance imaging started, somebody introduced it, like adaptability was not as wide as nowadays, right? By the way, MRI is kind of similar to NMR, right? It's a nuclear magnetic resonance, so that's a magnetic resonance imaging. So it took a while to people accept it and get adapted, and now it's being widely used. So when something new and novel, there are many risks. So in the therapeutics, there's the stages that I'm going to explain in my upcoming slides. And diagnostics also, there are some difficulties that you have to overcome, hurdles. The more hurdles in a novel discovery, novel invention, than existing. That's why I feel like, risk is higher. But however, even though where there is a higher risk, the reward is also higher. So the next stage is, let's start with talking about the stages in the entrepreneurial path or setting up a biotech startup. What kind of stages? So these are the 5 steps are quite important in the biotech entrepreneurial process. The very first step is an idea. You have to identify an opportunity, what it is. So in previous slide, I mentioned various different areas, right? In one of them, or maybe something new you may have to come up with. This is the one that, very crucial, an idea. Then you have to come up with a conceptual business plan. So you have an idea how to make it as a product, and then how are you going to sell it? How are you going to develop it? How much money do you need? What else, other resources you need? These kind of business plan you have to come up. Once you have these two, you take these two, and then you start to raise the money. You need the money, capital, investment, right? How you need to raise the money. Once you raise the money, then you start executing your project, your idea, put it into the practice, right? Once you start executing, you manage it, successfully manage, then you have an option to exit where you can, that's where, your success depends. And the exit, either you can be acquired by some big company or you can go for the public or initial public offerings. So all these 5 stages, I'm going to go a little bit more detailed and then give some examples or some resources as well. So identifying an opportunity or an idea is a very key decision in the entrepreneurial path. So what do you want to sell? What is the product? Again, all these I think I have mentioned in the previous slides, right? Pharmaceutical therapeutic. Is there a small molecule? Or is it a biological molecule? Is it an antibody? Is it a protein? Is there a cell or gene therapy that you would like to sell? You would like to make it as a product. Is it a new product or existing product? You have to decide. You have to make it. This is very important stage, right? In the diagnostics, pathology lab, or like I think I have mentioned all of these. And these are the 3 points you have to keep in mind when you're thinking about your idea, which is a novelty, how different it is, how novel this is compared to the others in the market, and the utility. Does this really has a purpose? You have to do a survey. How many people you think are going to like it or needed it? And enablement. If let's say there's a need in the people or need in the market, then are they going to accept? Like I mentioned in the MRI, right? Are they going to accept? If you feel like people are going to accept it easily, how easily it is, if you can get some proof, that will help you to raise the money very easily. And another very most important thing is there a market? If the market is there, what is the demand? Do you think you have any other competitors? You have to thoroughly do the research on it. And the other part is, another important point here is this idea your own? Are you licensing for some place? Let's say you sit in your room or in your office and you come up with an idea and you do some work, and then that probably is your own idea. And then immediately you have to go for the IP protection. You have to protect your IP so that somebody cannot steal your IP. That's what is quite important, right? Let's say if it is not your own idea, you may, let's say in the chemistry department, some lab developed an idea, you would want to bring it to the market. Then you have to license it from the university. So there is a technology transfer, people are going to be there. Then you have to negotiate with them. You have to pay them to get the license, and then you bring it to the public. So the status of IP protection that you have to think very, very important. This is quite a bit important. And then you have to keep in mind that, how much freedom do you have to operate that idea? When you have your own, you have a lot of freedom. When you have licensed, so you will have some restrictions as well. So you have to negotiate the freedom to operate when you're licensing someone else's idea or someone else's product. And then you have to face all these legal issues. So you have needed some help from the lawyers as well. And then you have to have a knowledge and idea about these patents, trade secrets, and trademarks. You have to really do a thorough search on the patents. If somebody else has patented, let's say you're licensing something from somebody else, you have to take a look at you have to search the patents. If somebody else has already filed another patent, what is the relation between these two? Can I, even with the other patent, can I execute this idea? So these kind of things you really have to do a thorough research. The next key decision is developing a conceptual business model. Like I said in the previous slides, how to execute this idea successfully. You have to put it on a paper, not practically. Like on the paper, you have to come up with a conceptual model that, I'm going to do this way, that way. How would you generate the profit? You have to, like, end goal is the profit, right? So if you have to raise the money, you have to show the profit. This is how I'm going to make money. Unless until you show that, nobody's going to put the money, invest into the company, right? And you have to have a ballpark idea on how much investment do you need. Yes, nobody can guess 100% exactly accurately, but plus or minus, you have to have an idea, and you have to have an idea how you want to spend the money, where to spend the money. Like, you would like to buy some expensive equipment, or invest to buy the money to buy an equipment, expensive equipment, or hire a couple of people to make it work. So you have to have an idea which one works better, and based on your experience, your knowledge, your thorough research, you can get answers for these questions. And how many resources do you need? How many personnel? How many technicians? What kind of equipment do you need? Which equipment is latest, old? Can you get over with an old and used equipment which you can get it for cheaper? Or you need a really brand new equipment. Let's say in the diagnostic, it's better to have a brand new equipment because you're dealing with the people's health, right? Diagnostics, when you let's say COVID-19 diagnostic, if it is like a positive or negative, if an old instrument is not really doing well, you don't want to take that risk. And then if you give false results, and then your people may not trust, and then your market will go down, and then your business, you may lose business, right? So in that kind of situation, you may want to go with a new instrument, new equipment. These are all examples I'm giving, but you have to have an idea on that. How much time do you need to take this product from discovery level to product level, and then bring it to the market? How many years? 1, 2, 3? You have to have a rough idea on that as well. And you have to, again, before, it's not like confidence. You need the confidence, but you also have to be cautious. Is there any potential risks? If, let's say, after 2 years, you get stuck with something, how to overcome that? So you have to think at least next 5 years ahead before you start. After 5 years, what's going to happen? You have to foresight you need to have. And when there is a risk, how do you manage? You have to be prepared, and then you got to be strong on that as well. Then another important thing is, when would you expect the revenue to generate the revenue? Like initially you have some investment, the money is going to run out, right? But to get another investment, there is another ways to generate some revenue. Your company can generate some revenue to support yourself. So when do you think that's going to happen? So that you can plan the money that you have to run until you get the revenue. How would you how are you going to generate the revenue, right? You're going to bring it to the product straight to the customer, or you're going to use some third-party help or some partners, like distributors or things like that. So you have to have an idea on that. And I mean, at certain stage, you can say initially you can present your model business. In the beginning, let's say after 2 years, X amount of the money. Do you need additional money after that? You have to have an idea on that as well. So these are all these important points that you have to keep in mind when you're creating a business model, which is on the paper. This is going to be executed later, practically, what you modeled using this business model with all these questions answered by yourself. So you need to have an extensive knowledge, and the first 2 points, idea and business model, are the key, very important factors to start a company. These are all virtual, but the practical company, you have to do so much research, very extensive research on various different things like products, service, industry, market, organizational feasibility, financial feasibility. And next thing, once you do the research, then you have to question yourself: do I have enough skills to run this? Do you have enough business skills? Or do you want to learn some new, like you take like a couple of months break and then learn these skills and get started over? You have to think about it. And or else you can do is you can bring your friend or someone else who is expert in the other area and bring him onboard him as a partner. That's also works in the biotech startups. You don't have to be whole and sole a founder and entrepreneur. You can bring some help as well, but you will be running the show. Who rest all other going to help you. Then you will be the entrepreneur, right? And you have to review the market. Always, market is, it's not stable. It's fluctuating, right? Best example is 2019, 2020, COVID-19. How the market is being shaken. Some of them are like, the entertainment industry, how it is being changed from one to other. You may have an idea, right? So these kind of fluctuations, you kind of be prepared. You must kind of, be ready for like to take a immediate sharp turn to keep yourself successful. Yeah, like I said, the investment, how much you need. Is there any uncertainties? Like again, I mentioned just mentioned the example. And social economical changes. The people's mindset constantly changes so time to time. So you have to keep an eye on that to keep your product active always. So the next part is the investment. This is the most crucial part. Once you have the idea, you have a business plan, and then you should go to raise some money, initial capital investment to start your biotech startup company. So there are some different options you have here. So the very first thing is founders. You're the founder, right? Your own money. You put your own money, or you can take help from your family or your friends. This is called F3 money, founders, family, and friends. This is the first where you can, it depends on how big is your idea. You can start with your own money, family money, or friends money. Or else there are two other types, non-equity investments. The non-equity investments means, so when you start a company, your company has equity, which is a shares, right? So it can be diluted if you bring a partner on board. That means you have to share your equity or your shares with your partner, right? But if you can get some money on these non-equity investments, which are kind of government funding, I'll give you the details in upcoming slides. Non-profit organizations like Gates Foundation, CEPI, Coalition for Epidemics Preparedness Innovations, Gavi, Global Alliance of Vaccines and Immunizations. These are like 3 examples I provided. There are hundreds are out there. Because the best example is CEPI and Gavi gave billions and billions of dollars to the vaccine development companies in the past 2 years because of this COVID-19. This money, what they do is they collect the money from philanthropists and invest it into the public health to help the people for their good health. So this money, you get the money as long as if you convince them, you get the money and you don't have to pay them back, but you have to answer them about your product. And then your credibility also very, very important with them to keep your good relationship with them. This is non-profit organizations, right? The other option is equity investments, equity based. So basically, when you bring other partners like angel investors and venture capitalist firms, so you're diluting your shares, your equity. So you're giving your company shares to them so that they can put the money in. These are the diluting investments. I will explain you in give more details about them. The other option is corporate ventureships and partnerships. Some of the big pharmaceutical companies, what they are doing nowadays is encouraging the biotech startups. Instead of they start their own drug development discovery wing, let's just say, let's help a new biotech startup who is doing the drug discovery. Once they have they have matured to a certain level, then either they acquire them or they partner with them to bring it into the market. So this is, and also they invest money into other biotech startups as well. So these are some big pharma companies like Google Ventures, Pfizer, different companies. I'm going to give examples in upcoming slides. They're also invest into the biotech startups. And again, this investment or money raising is will not stop in the beginning. It's called seed funds, Sustainable Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Development Fund. That's seed, SEED fund. Initial investment. Then you go to the Series A, Series B, Series C, on and on until you go to the public or you get acquired. So the money investment raising Fundraising is not one time. It's on and on. It's an ongoing process as you grow the company, as you go as a biotech startup, as you go as a matured company. And you have to have an idea about this equity, as I mentioned, all this equity is also various different forms. There is a common stock, there is some preferred stock, a founder stock. I'm not going to go into the details. This is a little bit more in depth. I don't think that we have enough sufficient time to go much more details, but I'm just giving some bullet points. Later on, you can go and search and understand, learn about these. And after once you have the money, you have an idea, you have a business model, you have the money, then immediately you have to register the company or incorporating the company. So various different types of incorporations: S incorporation, C incorporation, INC, it's called LLC, LLP, liability, limited liability company or limited liability partnership. So these are the registering incorporation methods. Most of the companies go with C Corp because the venture capitalist firms, if you need the money from the venture capitalist firms, you have to be incorporated. But S Corp and LLC, their kind of income tax is waived for others. They have their own benefits. There are the flaws as well. But most of the people go with the C Corp, though you have to pay income tax every year. But you can raise money from venture capitalist firms as well. So here is an example of non-equity investments. Here it is in US. US Small Business Administration organizes this grants, fellowships, grants. SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research Grant. STTR, Small Business Technology Transfer Grant. These are the two very popular grants. And they give starting from $250,000 to $2 million as you grow the company. Phases. There are various different phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, like that. So different stages, they will help you to grow your company. And this is all the government money. So it's a federal agency, and they also will train you, the entrepreneurship programs. They will give you, they will provide a training, resources and things like that as well. So this is called SBIR, STTR program. Whoever is in the US, they can utilize this program as well. So even we will also apply for these kind of mechanisms. In India, so this is Biotechnology Industry Research Association Assistance Council, BIRAC, is helping the people, budding entrepreneurs, investing into them. This is them. They have a mechanism called Biotechnology Ignition Grant. All these different research areas, all these areas, healthcare, life sciences, drugs, biology, so on and energy, everything, poultry, fisheries, nutrition, all different areas. They invest from 70,000 rupees to 50 lakhs. Sorry, I put this dollar in here. It's not dollar. It's a rupees. And the eligibility is to be an Indian citizen. But here for the SBIR's eligibility, you have to locate in the US. Some of the programs require the citizenship, but some may not. So you can deep dive when you go to this website, and you can give it a try, like search more and learn more. And you can ask me any questions later on if you need mentoring or help with. This is a BIRAC program. This is in India. So if you want to become an entrepreneur in India, you can take help. This is a non-diluting, non-equity investment from the government funding. The next level is equity investments. The first stage is angel investors. The angel investors are successful entrepreneurs or so rich people who has some passion about the technology. They try to invest. So all you need to do is you have to come up with an idea. You go and explain to them. You convince them so that they can invest in you. If they like your idea, they will invest. Not only invest into, they also mentor you. They advise you. They will help you to connect with their other network friends to raise more money. They help with the recruitment. They also mentor everything. They do lots of things. Basically, these angel investors are risk takers, and they fund you long period of time. So they have the patience. They're not greedy immediately to gain the profit, but they will make you work hard, but they will invest in a long term. They also can mentor you. So sometimes the angel investors become a group of people, bunch of friends come together, and then they, as a group, also they can invest as an angel investor. This is another opportunity. And another option in equity investment is venture capitalist firms. These are all very smart. So a group of this again is another entrepreneurship thing. So few people, they collect the money from different people, and then they bring all the money to one place, and this call it is a fund, venture capitalist fund or firm, and they start investing in various different companies, technology to biotechnology company. If you look at this chart in here, this is the growth of the company with the time. Let's say this is a big industry where it started as a startup company and then it grew into complete pharmaceutical industry. But these venture capitalists, where there's a profit, they stay there only. They invest in up to here. After that, you have to be on your own. If you are successfully acquired, you're going to be a winner. If you're not acquired or your sales is down, you couldn't sell your product successfully, then you lose. That means you fail here. But the venture capitalist only can fund at a certain period of time. They cannot be with you forever, like the angel investors. So if you sell the product successfully, you're in a success rate. Even though without the venture capitalist help, you can run your business or your firm by yourself with your own revenue. So you have to start generating the revenue. This is how the equity investments work. Like I said, other option is corporate ventures partnerships. Again, as I already mentioned, so here are some examples I give: Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Amgen, AbbVie, Google Ventures. These are also like number of companies they invested into, all these biotech startups. These numbers below them, the number of biotech startups they have invested into. Next step is execution, implementing your idea. So now you have an idea, you have a business plan, you got the money, you have registered the company. So you have to move into a physical space and execute it. So which is lab establishment. So you have to start buying the equipment, supplies, chemicals, recruiting the employees, technical expertise, management expertise. Then this is the first stage where here in the US, also in India, I think the BIRAC has this incubator opportunities. So incubators are nothing but, it's also another venture, like a venture firm. So they create a lab space for lab space in a particular area, in a particular building or somewhere, right? Then they start renting, let's say, one hood and one bench space to a small biotech startup for inexpensively, basically. So bunch of biotech startups come together into a place and start working. That's called the incubator. So these incubator spaces, but someone owns this space. He will rent it to the potential entrepreneurs and startups. The best example, this is called Lab Central here in the US in Cambridge. It's very popular. So many biotech companies started here and then grew to big companies, and then they also acquired for billions of dollars. So this one. The other thing is accelerators, not only the incubator, accelerators. This is another mechanism recently started that, these accelerators doesn't also give you some money to start your company. It's more popular in the technology side, which doesn't require a lot of money. Let's say they give you $100,000 and then start your idea. They provide some space and they will mentor you. They will guide you like angel investors. They will run you. They will introduce you to other investors. They will introduce you to the market. They will introduce you to the business people. So basically they'll train you based on the importance of your idea. These are called accelerators. The difference between the incubators and accelerators is here. You can say that they can do training, mentoring, business support. The space incubators provide. The accelerators may not provide the space, but they do help you on the business side, others like, give them a little bit of seed funding side. In the second stage of this, first stage, you're setting up the company, right? And then second stage, you have to look into partnerships, starting revenue, generating the revenue. Looking for the mass production facilities. Then again, at step 3, marketing. So now you have a matured product, you produce it in bulk, you start distributing it in the market, you bring it into the market. Sources of supply, you need to find, you have to match up with the market demand. So this is all, again, your business skills comes here, right here, and you may take some help from the others as well. Here is an example how to execute a therapeutics company. What you need. So initially, you start with the research and development, then in vitro testing, lead or process optimization, then preclinical testing in animals, go to the clinical stage, regulatory review, scale up manufacturing, then marketing, and then you grow from there. So here I have here is the chart that provides how much time it is required. all these stages, the discovery phase, preclinical, approximately 3 to 5 years it takes for a therapeutic. So if you want to bring a small molecule drug or maybe a biologics or any drug molecule, then you go and enter into the clinical stage where it takes 5 to 7 years, almost approximately 10 to 15 years it takes to bring a small molecule drug or a therapeutic into the market. As of my knowledge, there's only one or two recently, a couple of years ago, approved. In I think there's a cell therapy for one of the cancers, which approved less than 10 years, 9 or 10 years. That's approximately that's the fastest drug molecule therapy approved by FDA. But at this preclinical stage, once you pass the preclinical stage, when you start entering into the phase 1 of the clinical stage, you can apply for the investigational new drugs. Sometimes it can be utilized. Some of the we may have seen this method in COVID-19 treatment, the remdesivir emergency use authorization. These things are kind of you can go up like in phase 1 or 2 stages. You can go for that emergency use authorization. There's an opportunity is there, but it's rare. And once you are done with phase 3, which phase 4 is called market evaluation, post-market surveillance, and then you apply it as a new drug application. You put a new drug application to get it approved by the FDA so that you can go into the market and distribute it in the market. And another example here is the diagnostics. Pretty much similar way. The time probably not required as much as the therapeutics, probably 3 to 5 years. Again, same hurdles you have to go through: research development, proof of concept. Here you have another thing is prototype development. It is a device, or it is a kit, or it is test. You have to certainly do a clinical validation with clinical trials. Then you go for the regulatory review. Then you have to scale up the manufacturing and marketing and growth. So pretty much same, but a little bit less stressful than the therapeutics. And there is an option here is laboratory development tests. You don't have to get this complete approval from the FDA, but you can provide the service as a laboratory development test with certain conditions, certain circumstances for the diagnostics. So here is the management positions, like where to start with, how many people you have to start with. See, initially the chief executing officer, the entrepreneur usually is going to be the chief executing officer who came up with the idea. He is the boss. He's going to do everything. He's going to run the circus. He's going to run everything. So chief executive, you have to recruit a board members who kind of drives your company, keeps you in a right direction. So the board of directors includes yourself, your investors, your mentors, or your scientific advisors. So few people together, they become the board of directors who will guide you in the right direction. And you can start with at least 2 people. First one, yourself is a chief executive officer, the final authority, and he is the one who reports to the board. Then you have to have a chief technology officer or chief scientific officer. In general, the biotech and science, these 2 roles have the same positions, have the same role. But in engineering field, if you're engineering a machine or a device, then they call chief technology officer. So only terminology difference. But you have these 2 can start the company, and then they can create a board, and then they go for the hiring the staff members like scientists and office staff and others. But sometimes you may need these people. You can hire them as a contractors or the part-time, like financial officers, to maintain your finances, to relieve yourself a little bit of your burden. Chief operating officers you may not need unless you grow bigger, but in the beginning as a startup, yourself. Chief marketing officer is required when you have the product and you're ready to go into the market. And at certain point, you have to have these 2 boards, which is scientific advisory board. Let's say your product, your idea is kind of a shaky a little. Sometimes you need an expert advice in the field and in the area. So you recruit them. So if you have a therapy, you're developing a therapeutic, so you need a clinical advisory board. In the clinical stage, they can advise you to move towards the right direction. These are the kind of management positions, but you can start with CEO and CTO or CSO, but you can grow from there. At least 2 people are needed to, you can act both of these roles. If you're a scientist and you can run the business, then you can be both. There are some examples out there as well. The next, the fifth stage is exit strategy. So there are two options you have. Initial public offerings, so you go into the public. So this will allow your company to raise more money from the people. This is the shares. You go into the market, share market. But you have to meet certain requirements to get into the public. You have to meet some requirements by some stock exchanges and Securities and Exchange Commission. These entities has to approve you to go into the market to offer the public offerings. Otherwise, you can also do a merger. You can merge with a big pharmaceutical company, and you can work together and then take profits from together. And you can be acquired by a big pharmaceutical company. They will pay you, and then they take your product, and that's the exit point to your startup, right? Startup, and this can happen at any stage. I've seen companies acquired in the phase 0, preclinical stage, or the final stage of clinical trials, and after public offerings, the companies have been merged or acquired. So here's some examples that I provided. The Biogen is one of the therapeutics company. It's founded in 1978. It's located here in Cambridge, 2 blocks from me. And they IPO'd 1991. They went through lots of struggles. They raised money, ups and downs they have seen. And they're now a successful pharmaceutical company running successfully with a $39.73 billion net worth. And their revenues, I think, some $20 billion of revenue they're generating every year. So they're running their own company with their own revenue. So now it's a successful pharmaceutical company. They're bringing novel drugs, novel therapeutics into the market. Second example is Genentech. This is another company. It's in the West Coast. It's founded in 1976. I think this is originally founded in Sweden, Switzerland, but now it's located here in the US. IPO'd in 1980, but in 2009, Roche, it's merged with Roche. Now it's called Genentech, a member of the Roche group. So basically, they share the profits together with Roche. So Roche is it merges when I see a successful company, the company can merge with Roche and then they share the profits. And now the net worth together is $46.8 billion. Shire Pharmaceuticals is another company. It's a therapeutics pharmaceutical company founded in 1986. It's IPO'd in 1996. And it's acquired by Takeda Pharmaceuticals. This is not a merger. It's acquired completely. It's purchased, and then they gave some money. So $58 billion they gave to Shire Pharmaceuticals, and they acquired. Now all products belongs to Shire or Takeda's products. So Takeda sell on their own brand name. So this is an acquisition example. This is the latest one, Spark Therapeutics. There are so many, hundreds and hundreds are out there, but I found a couple to give you an example. As an example, this company is founded in 2013, Spark Therapeutics, and you can see that you can see the acquisition or merger difference is about 35 years and 40 years it took for the Genentech and Shire Pharmaceuticals. But for this company, 6 years, within 6 years, $4.8 billion. Roche bought this company, acquired by Roche, Spark Therapeutics for $4.8 billion. So 6 years, the CEO of this company, the founders of this company. Now you can see that, the goal, they reached the goal. These are the successful entrepreneurs. They run the company 6 years successfully, and then they are acquired by the big pharmaceutical companies. That's where you can become a rich, right? So I have explained all this information, right? Where can you find additional information? People ask, where can I find additional information to, start a startup company, to run a startup company? The best resources, that's where. The Google is the best place where you search, but not everything comes out of the Google is genuine or authentic, but you need to speak to the people. Someone like us here, the mentoring program, through the mentoring program, there are so many mentors are also entrepreneurs in our group. You can take their help if you really want to become an entrepreneur or you really want to start a company. But without doing some work somewhere down here, you can go and somebody ask something else. It's hard for anybody. You have to do your homework and then you seek the advice later on. Now, if I'm not running, I can stop here if I want, or probably, Madhavi, am I running over the time, or should I stop or continue?
I think like within few minutes you can wrap up.
I can wrap it up 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Would that be okay?
great. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So now I'm gonna talk about my company, the technology that I'm working with. It's called Expansion Microscopy, a novel tool for single cell analysis. This is a microscopy company. It's extbio.com. As Madhuri already mentioned about myself, I don't want to go more details. So the light microscopes, it is invented in 1595. Light microscopy is nothing but, you shine the light and you look at the specimen under the microscope. It's a little bit different from the compound and other microscopes, right? But they have some limitations. The light microscopes have some limitations, which is a diffraction. So if you look at that standard confocal microscope, you can see a certain entities. These lines are a tubulin protein in the cellular, which gives a cellular skeleton protein. And the red dots are the clathrin coated pits. So if you look at the standard microscope, which is cheaper, easier, simpler, but you cannot resolve it very well. So take a look at it. In 2014, a super resolution microscopy was invented. And you can see now the tubulin structures are very well clearly, you can see them, right? And the clathrin coated pits, you can see the donut shape, the super resolution microscopy. And then it won Nobel Prize in 2014. It was invented in early 2000, but it won the Nobel Prize in 2014. So that initially, let's say, standard microscope, you can look, compound microscope, you can look at the ant, which is 1 millimeter. We went up to the bacteria 1 micrometers, regular optical microscopy. But super resolution microscope, you can look at the viruses under a microscope. You can look at the proteins, but you cannot still look at the single molecules, small single molecule. Well, you can say there is electron microscopy. I can still look at the smallest part. But the problem with the electron microscopy is it's a single color. You cannot detect multiple molecules at the same time. That's what is the power of the light microscope. See, clathrin coated pits and then tubulin molecules, tubulin protein. You can visualize both at the same time, but not in here, the electron microscopy. So we revolutionized, our technology revolutionized in this light microscopy. So we call this expansion microscopy. Since the microscope founded, people are playing with the optics, objective lenses. That's why the super resolution microscopy, they're all expensive. You need at least $1 million to buy a super resolution microscope. And you have to someone to maintain it. You need some employees to maintain it. Also, same thing with electron microscopy. Can we bring the same resolution, super resolution, using the standard microscope that I mentioned here? Using this microscope, bring this kind of resolution. It is cheaper microscope, but how can we do it? Which is called, that's what is our technology about, expansion microscopy. Physical magnification is completely new concept in the microscopy. So what we do is we use sodium polyacrylate polymer, which is commonly available in baby diapers. And the specimen, this is a brain tissue section, before expansion, after expansion. So infuse this sodium polyacrylate polymer into the human or brain tissue section or any type of tissue section, and then do some kind of a chemical processing, and then do the homogenization, and then you hydrate it. Once you hydrate it, it will gradually expand. Here is the protocol. So in this workflow, you take the specimen here, which is called immunohistochemistry. So you're labeling the proteins or biomolecules in the cells or in the tissue, right? And the initial step is called anchoring. So you use this acrylate polymer to anchor the biomolecules to the polymeric network. You do the polymerization, you form the polymer gel, and then you do the digestion, which is homogenization. And then you add the water to expand the specimen. If you can take a look at this, this is a mouse brain tissue section. When you add the water, it slowly becomes larger and larger. So you're basically making a small specimen to be physically big so that you can look at it through the regular microscope, so that you can see all the cellular features much more clearly and inexpensively. So you go and take the imaging. And this technology was invented by Professor Ed Boyden at MIT. So there's a couple of examples I'm going to give you quickly. So this is the image collected using a super resolution microscope. These are the tubulins in the human cells. You can see that in individual tubules, you can clearly see that, but this picture, this image was taken using a standard microscope after expansion microscopy method, the protocol or the technology that we are using. You can see the difference, right? This is a standard microscope. This is $1 million microscope. This is standard regular $100,000 microscope, but they used our method, our technology, and making the specimen bigger. As another example, clathrin coated pits with a super resolution microscope, standard microscope with expansion, and which is much better resolved, right? This is a multicolor brain tissue section, a neuron expressing the GFP, and then two proteins interaction together, Homer and boson, two proteins. These are neuronal synaptic density proteins. Their interaction, see their junction, you can clearly see with the standard microscope with expansion, but without expansion, you cannot see that. Everything is blurry. And the expansion factor is about 4 to 5 times bigger than the specimen in general, but you can expand it up to 20 times, which is 1,000-fold in volumetric. Now, at this point, you can see the neuronal processes in the brain as you can visualize them as well. This is another example, kind of comparing with electron microscopy in a kidney disease diagnosis. Electron microscopy is commonly used. These are the cells, kidney cells called podocytes. When these cells are damaged, you get a disease called minimal change disease. Kidney damage happens, and then the cells are damaged. You can see this healthy kidney and damaged kidney. You can use this cheap, inexpensive microscope using our technology to detect this disease. This is a proof of concept that we have done. And also, a bacteria after expansion, before expansion, visualizing the bacteria using the mini microscope. They use the webcam optics to look at the bacteria after expansion. So this is the power of the technology that I'm talking about. This is whole fly brain, fruit fly brain. After expansion, you're looking whole brain. We expanded entire fly brain and then imaged. So many people are doing this kind of work. Our work is like many different applications. I'm not going to go in details. Few more applications. So right now we're using this technology to bring early stage diagnostics in various different cancers. Using these are the RNA molecules, molecular level. I mentioned single, each dot is RNA molecule, detecting them. And again, an electron microscopic kidney disease. This is a mouse brain with the different neurons, detecting various different neurons, and fruit fly brain. This is a monkey brain. So this is where, when I started the company, and 5 years ago in 2015, this is how we started, the first day of the work. All you do is unpacking and then setting up. And then this is how we set up the lab, gradually, step by step. This is in 2019. You can see we put a lot of equipment. Now it's looks like a full lab. But when we started, you can see that down, just boxes, opening the boxes. This is my journey. Thank you so much for your time and patience. My apologies if I run over at the time, but I'm happy to take any questions. I hope this helps some of the budding potential entrepreneurs or who wants to become an entrepreneur. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahinder. It's a really great journey, the way how you explained, and I noted some points. We definitely touch upon those, and also we will ask our listeners, students and scholars and faculty members and alumni to ask questions. So thank you so much for that great presentation.
I'm trying to exit the chat, the share. Stop sharing. Thank you.
Okay. So I just wanted to let Priya present her experience, and then we will open for questions. So with that, Padmashri, if you can share the screen. Okay, Priya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see if Padmashri madam can present the slide, then okay. So I'm just going to give very brief introduction about Priya, and she's going to talk about herself and her career goals.
Is
so
it
Priya
visible, Madhvi?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So Priya is one of the mentees who started this program early on, and she is in MSc first year. And I requested her to present how has been these sessions are for her, and so that she can motivate and also share her experiences in this mentoring program so that you can hear, and also which helps you to start this program as your career goals for research scholars and MSc students. So with that, Priya, please go ahead and speak about your experiences.
Hi all. Good evening to lecturers in India, and good morning to ma'am, like sirs in USA and like other countries. I'm Priya Sharma, student of Osmania University in first year. And first of all, thank you to the Mahinders sir for such a nice overview about biotech entrepreneurship. And then my ambition is to pursue my dreams and work for my career growth. That is to make my career and have growth in it. And my personal goals are should be being open to myself, and need to learn to manage time, as it's very important for a career, and have leadership skills. And my mentor is Madhavi Shrikoti. Thank you, ma'am, for to be my mentor. In first, I was so nervous when I met to ma'am, but later on, I was so comfortable because of her. She made me comfortable. And then the thing is, she is my trustable companion, and she said she won't judge me, and she's not judging me even. In first session, it was just about introduction. Like I introduced about myself to the ma'am, and ma'am told about herself to me. In that, I told ma'am about my plans, my ambitions, what I want to achieve in which area I want to make my career and all. And then I have listed out some points like I need to learn to manage my time, have leadership skills. And then there is and we have discussed about my strengths and the weaknesses are like area of improvements where improvement is needed. And me and my mentor have committed to meet every month, and if I need in between, I message to ma'am and she gives me time. My mentor is very approachable. Anytime she talks to me. And second session was, as I said, need to learn to manage time. So that was about time management. And the third session was leadership skills. How to be a leader, how to work on the responsibilities we take. About those we have discussed. And there are many main areas I have identified and I have listed of it. Later on, we are going to do. Until now, we have done on leadership skill and time management and being open to myself. I find this mentoring program very useful. If I am getting benefit, I'm sure you all will get benefit from this program. I hope you reach out to your mentor and start working on your goals. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for accepting my invitation and presenting your experiences. Really appreciate going over how this mentoring program is helping you. And thank you so much for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. With that, I would like to open the floor for questions for Mahinder sir. And also if you have any questions for Priya, even she can answer and we can answer. So please feel free to unmute your mic and ask questions. Anyone, any questions? So
Good morning. Good morning to all. Good evening. Good morning.
Hi, Ramana.
Good evening. From the University of Informatics and Science from Mahatma Gandhi University, Nalgonda, ma'am.
Okay, good. Very good. Thank you. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Sir, good evening, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Go ahead. We can hear. Thank you.
We can hear you.
Sir, if you already what about generally microscopes are discovered in 2004 of Nobel Prize. But here STEM and SEM and STEM type of microscope nowadays, we are using the very in the microscopic level. Those we can, generally clusters of atoms or any molecules, they can be find through that, sir. Is this possible?
Yeah, so you're talking about the TEM, right? Transmission electron microscopy, and STEM, PALM, those are the light microscopes. STEM, PALM, STORM, these are all right. But electron microscope, transmission electron microscope, yes, it has a molecular level resolution, but it cannot identify same molecules, multiple molecules at the same time, like RNA, protein, both are together. It's not possible with electron microscope. So that's why you need a light microscopy, multiple different proteins, multiple different RNA protein together. So lipids are proteins together, lipids are RNA together. So that's where you need the fluorescence light microscope plays a big role. And STEM, STORM, PALM, these are the super resolution microscopes, which you said the Nobel Prize was in 2014, they won, right? They can go up to 20 nanometer, 10 nanometer resolution, but in the molecular level, they can't go. Still, we can see the molecular level as a electron microscope level. But the major problem with them, they're not into the diagnostics. They're not being used very routinely in the diagnostics to detect anything else. You know why? Because they're expensive. They're like, if you want to get a STEM or any other microscope, it costs at least $800,000 to $1 million. How many hospitals do you think can afford that? Let's say if you can, most of the hospitals already standard light microscopes, they have the standard light microscopes they can afford. If you can provide a method, a technology that can give you this STEM level resolution using their own, the microscope they already have in the lab, and they probably utilize it, right? That's what is our idea and our approach.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, Mahinder. This is Venkat.
Yes,
thank you so much for sharing your experience in this new journey. So actually, this is kind of exciting to know about, your story. I think, some of us will be successful entrepreneurs and creating opportunities in both in US and India. So yeah, definitely, I think, there are a good number of opportunities to collaborate each other and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat.
I just want to take a minute here. I just wanted to see if Umesh sir has been joined the meeting. Umesh sir, if you are there, please unmute yourself and speak a few words. Padmashri, do you see him?
No, I don't see him. Actually, he was in a meeting. I think he couldn't make it still.
Okay.
I think, yeah, he's not there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no problem. So we'll continue with this. Dr. Prashanti, I believe that your students from Mahatma Gandhi University are here. Please encourage them also to ask questions about anything that Mahinder can help with the answers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any questions? I don't see any hand raises. Okay, so before other pick up a question, so I just wanted to ask, there were several questions, Mahinder, but I want to ask one thing is, you started this with an idea and you did the homework on how novel it is. The one thing that I really thought is extremely important, it's not only having an idea, but to see the demand for the market is crucially important, because if there is no market for your idea, then success in the business is going to be challenging. So on that note, in this journey so far, what are a couple of the extreme challenges that you have to resolve along the way?
Sure. Yeah. So Madhavi, I mean, I haven't really stressed on how I started this journey, right? So, and I haven't really stressed on what are the benefit benefits I'm gaining? What are the risks that I am facing? I have faced. I haven't really. I quickly summarize that. So biotech startup is quite risky business. You can run out of the business any day, right? So yeah. So I mean, I took a week. I mean, so when I met with Professor Boyd at MIT, and then he came up with this idea to get started with this new startup, biotech startup, then he needed a person to run this, right? So we were like, then he asked me, can you do this? And I took a week first before I say yes. I can, what are the risks? Am I prepared? Can I do it? All the questions that I listed in my presentation, I asked myself. I did homework, a lot of homework, reading, and talking to friends, asking questions, mentors. Luckily, I got good mentors. I mean, even I'm mentoring here, I also have mentors. So,
yes, I'm sure that, yes.
Yeah, so I started jump. The risks here are, you have to start with the low salary, too much work, number one. But you're looking for 5 years later or 10 years later. The examples that I gave you, the Spark Therapeutics, $4.8 billion after 6 years. Imagine the first founders or the first employees, how much money they could have made. At least 1 million per person could have had, right? At least. So imagine that. That's the big side, good side of the biotech startup. That is the motivation. That makes you think every. And then also, my personality is kind of I always look for the challenging roles every day. So I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. Go to the lab, do the TLC, run the column, set up the reaction. It becomes routine for me. I need something to keep myself active always, so that I go and read a lot. I thought maybe this is good for me. I will always be something will be challenging me always.
Challenging,
right?
yes.
That's where I stood, yes. And so to answer, now let's come to your question. To answer your question is yes, I faced so many challenges, the business side, because in the beginning, the business side, I have no idea what am I doing. But I had mentors who are really mentoring very well. But I made some mistakes. And then we have competitors in the market. They are kind of ahead of us in that time. So we're kind of not competing with the same product with the competitors, but we need to find a different path, like a unique path or unique product. So that's what is kind of where we are heading towards, which I can't reveal what we're doing. So that's one challenge I faced from the competitors, but we're still surviving. That means we are uniquely approaching towards the product, different from the competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's this might be very small scale, but I just wanted to, like, research scholars and students understand is when we start our PhD. So one of the challenge I took myself is I am going to identify my own research area. So I have to have the statement, like the question statement. And now that's the very research oriented and 5 years plan. I would say like a 5 years, 6 years plan. But when you are posing this question, it's not only your question, it has to be a global question, because that's the area of demand that you're looking, and the way how you want to pursue is how many people you can bring this benefit to. So that's the scale of how you look at
the
it.
Motivation.
Yeah, exactly.
And also another thing is, because another motivation here is, nowadays the source of information, the resources we have available on the fingertips, on this. So you don't like 15. Imagine 15 years back. If you need to find a resource or some kind of information, it's difficult. But now you have it. Of course, you get some wrong information too. But as long as you are able to judge properly and get a good mentor, you probably can go towards a success. I've seen this is the good thing about being in the Boston or being in between MIT and Harvard. Every coffee shop is filled with, you can say that I think Facebook was found in a bar. The Dropbox was found in a probably what is it called?
Garage.
The coffee shop. You get to meet all these entrepreneurs every day. It's a different world, So
Absolutely.
Again, also that pushes you. I mean, Moderna, all the companies are walking distance all the time. So many conferences happening nearby, walking distance. You just go and sit and listen to the talk, you get motivated. What actually new research is going and what is something new coming out of the, so this like, the place also helps you, I guess.
Absolutely,
where you are.
absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. Definitely. I see 2 hands raised. I'll go to HSP sir first. Sir, please unmute and ask your question. Sir, I think you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Now it's okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I congratulate Mahinder. Wonderful talk, and your journey is very.
Thank you, sir.
More like an example for a youngster. So to emulate, you have to have your own path. That's the real truth in entrepreneurship. I will add to what Mahinder has told from a bit of an Indian perspective. Say when we are sitting in Hyderabad, you are sitting on a gold mine. Only you have to dig to find out where is that gold and how much you can really dig. Because this is presently, I told this once before and I'm telling again, this is the best time if you would like to become an entrepreneur. He told about one, which is you like to find out where is the gap. This is what is called as gap analysis. So, obviously you will have to become an entrepreneur means you have an intention to sell your product. And what product you would like to sell? That is where the gap analysis. Hyderabad today is full of, very close to our Usmania University is Malapur area or Nachara, where there are many CROs or chemical research organizations which are trying to make chemicals to be sold all over the world. So that's one place one can think of if you would like to become an entrepreneur, what kind of chemicals that I would like to make and how I can sell them. And do the gap analysis. The best one is to really work for a few years, 1 or 2 years in a company and get to know how to sell, what to sell, and when to sell, to whom to sell, and how much to sell. What is the price kind of thing. So you for doing a gap analysis, I would personally suggest get into an industry with an idea that you will start a company a few years later so that you will get an idea. Another one that you can think of is that you go and do some lateral movement and then get an additional degree, possibly an MBA through a distance mode so that you learn this economics part, and particularly finance part, which is of course is very crucial when you want to start a company. And that's one thing I would like to suggest. He told about BIRAC. The BIRAC is a government funding, 70,000 to 50 lakhs. That's true. But getting that money, like any government money, is not easy. So you will really have to convince that this your idea is going to become something is a selling point in few years later. IIT Kanpur is one of the incubating institutions. So they call for applications. So every 3 months you apply and then you go through the process of selection. And once you go through the process of selection, everything is fine. But it's not easy, it is difficult, but then one can go through the whole thing. There was a question about TEM and the technologies that Mahinder has developed. And one can understand in a few years back, we purchased, in fact, I was one of the pivotal person, 15 crores for TEM, 3,000. So that, there's a huge instrument. And to run that instrument, even for one sample, it was cost about 10,000 rupees. So it's not easy. Therefore, if there is a technology like what Dr. Mahinder has just now told, that can be done in any laboratory, that is the most welcome, and possibilities of that being used extensively is very high. So this is more like a comment, like I told already, that you should have certain goals in your life. And you should have certain small financial backup, because many people tell that I became an entrepreneur because my wife is working, or my wife became an entrepreneur because I am working. So at least one of you is bringing something at the end of the month to be, to take care of the family's requirement. How to work, with a dream in your eyes that a few years later something is going to happen. Since I happen to be seeing on everyday basis how the entrepreneurs are growing in Hyderabad. I'm trying to tell you that, you get some experience after whatever you're doing, then plunge into it. Life is extraordinarily exciting if you become an entrepreneur. It's pretty dull, in my opinion, if you take up a job and leave it in that forever. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that message, sir. Students, any questions for, yeah.
Madhavi, I can just emphasize what HSP sir said. It's totally true. Like, the experience, getting experience also, I haven't actually, because I started straight. So I haven't mentioned about the getting experience. That also certainly helps. A lot of people, they work 5 to 10 years. There's so many in a therapeutics company, and then they come up with their idea because their experience, their life becomes a little bit easier than what if you start something fresh, right? Because they experienced in that big pharmaceutical company. So I've seen, like, within 5 years or 3 years or 4 years, they started, after starting their own startup, they got acquired. So that matters, the experience. That gives a little extra mile. Something called experience. Second thing is, sir mentioned about getting that government funding is not easy. Absolutely. Again, this investment, the fundraising is the biggest thing and a difficult thing. I mean, I don't know. See, not raising from the venture capitalists or government money. You go and ask your father some money. Do you think he is going to give you just like that unless until you convince him? Right? So, like I said, he said he's absolutely correct, but you keep trying. The HSP sir said, keep trying. Every 3 months, notification comes in. Don't lose hopes. Don't give up. Keep trying, try again and again until you succeed. That's what it is.
That's where, when you put these details on the paper, which you are mentioning, then to reach out to anybody, to show your proposal, what's the action plan and how you are going to execute it, what your plans are, what is the outcome of this one. I think that putting on a paper your plan as clear as possible will help you to sell your thought process so that you get the money. And again,
exactly,
as you spoke, these are the steps that you followed, but each step has its own challenges, how you want to pursue it. So, but that's the whole motivation behind this, how you get through this and do it, right? So that's the main thing. And yeah, everybody is doing, like, so many people are doing who wants to do that. So it's everybody's market. So students and scholars, think about it. If this is something that you want to plan, start talking and putting the ideas together. And now we have mentors who can guide you and teach you how to start these companies and how they can help you also with your thought process. So with that, I ask if any students has any questions.
Madhi, I just want to put one word. That's actually I raised my hand. Actually, what I wanted to ask Dr. Mahinder, it becomes a kind of a repetition because HSP sir already covered most of it. That is, when we interacted here with Dr. Pathsarthi Reddy Garu and also Dr. MSN Reddy Garu, when they have visited the department, the same thing they have expressed. I asked them a question like, why not many entrepreneurs? See, out of all the alumni of this department, there are only very few entrepreneurs coming out. So what is the problem there? Then they said it's not so easy, like, to establish an industry, to even get a permission or a thing, not only finance, it's not that very easy. So yes, but in a small, what HSP sir said, the same thing they have actually advised that even Pathsarthi Reddy Garu, he worked in an industry, he learned about what that industry is, where he can invest, what he can go, what new thing he can do. So he learned from the industry, then he went on to establish it. The same thing even Dr. MSN Reddy Garu also expressed it. However, I just want to, mention to the students that under RUSA program, the university has established an incubation center here in the university, and they encourage the students and also the faculty to come up with some kind of entrepreneurship programs. And small scale level, in the incubation center can be utilized. They're asking what are the requirements and what they can do about. And in fact, we going to have an interaction with the people from the incubation center with our scholars and the MSc students for them to explain, what are the avenues they can explore. Like, for example, the scholars, they have a lot of expertise with it. They can come up with small scale, intermediate compounds. They can give up the schemes for intermediate compound synthesis. And in fact, there are a few students who, scholars or the PhD scholars who went on to establish, small scale level industries like in Nacharam and in the Mallapur area. They do have some of the scholars. For example, Professor Ashok's student, one of the students has got a small scale industry established in the Mallapur area. Like that way, so there is an incubation center also who can support, if they pitch up the ideas, they can support. So I just want to put this word to the scholars and the students there. And very soon, I think after their internal exams, we plan for that interactive session with the incubation center. Yeah, this is the word I want.
Yeah, that's a really good information, Padmasree. I hope that our students are aware of that. Otherwise, as you said, right, if we can have a representative who can come and explain, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, actually, they're ready to. They're asking our time because, I mean, these people are busy now. Next week they have internals, so after that we just plan to do this.
Okay, so you are planning them like in face-to-face session?
Yeah. And there's
beautiful.
offline now. Yeah.
Okay. That's really wonderful. It really helps because this is an opportunity to start as a small scale and even like discuss the ideas and all that stuff, and definitely will help.
So yeah, this has been a right time, for them
Absolutely.
to have an idea about what is entrepreneurship. And Mahinder sir, it was amazing. You've given a quantum of information with regard to the entrepreneurship. And sir, expansion microscopy is an amazing thing. What I've learned today actually. Sir, does that apply to materials also? Can we actually use it for?
It's a good question. Yeah, the materials, it all depends on what kind of materials. There's a lot of research going on throughout the world. Various different research groups are trying to adapt to it. So right now we're only like, showing like our group and our collaborators have shown in the human tissue, human cells, mouse tissue, mouses, animals, and things like that. But some people are looking through plants as well. How can we do to identify some other things in the plants? The one of the thing that we couldn't expand is bone, which is difficult. So materials, how soft the materials are, it depends on, when you expand it, make sure they're not broken, right? So probably a soft material can be expanded, have you guys seen a movie called
like the powders, simple as a titanium dioxide? Because today we're also facing the problem, we can't purchase those expensive instruments. And even if we submit for the sample analysis, they're very expensive.
Months. Expensive and take months, right?
Take
weeks to months to give the results. That's like HSP sir said, a TEM. It's a 2 to 3 days process to do a one sample to get the results. It's laborious. It's time consuming too. Yeah. Yes. I mean, let's talk offline, Padmasree ma'am, about
sure.
what you want. So that we can in detail we can discuss about that. And Madhavi, just two more points that I would like to highlight here is. The take-home message kind of thing. One of my colleagues always uses to say, success equals to results minus expectations. So, as long as you bring the results beyond your expectations, you're successful.
Absolutely.
So that's what keep in mind. And an entrepreneur thing is not easy. Let's say you are like CEO of the company, you have 10 employees. That means one employee works 9 to 5, one employee's work, but you have to do 10 employees work as a CEO or as an entrepreneur. So keep that in mind. That means 10 times more than yourself you're working. You have to work 10 times more than yourself. So 11 people's work you have to do. Keep that in mind. That's entrepreneurship. And I'm not saying this to discourage people. I'm saying this to be prepared. So that, like I said, before you jump into the ocean to swim, You have to be determined that I have to swim, I'm going to swim, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to get it. That's what the determination and perseverance, these are the two important things. The third thing is I encourage to the students, whoever is, I also have some ideas to establish in India some of the things. If you come up with some cool idea, talk to me. Let's work together. If you have anything, I'm giving this off to the scholars and students. If anybody has, like, again, you come up with some idea. I'm going to do it's called diligence. When you go for the fundraising, it's called diligence. They will make you stand. You're a CEO of the company, but the investors make you stand like a undergrad degree student, and then drill you with the questions like, I'm sorry, I don't know, until you say, until I'm sorry, I don't know. Like your PhD thesis defense, even worse than that. Not thesis defense is a little bit easier, I guess, compared to the, before that you will have a proposal defense, which is called pre-PhD exam in India, but in the US, you have a proposal defense. You have to come up with your own proposal, and you have to defend in front of your committee. That is going to go from one, it says it's 1 hour schedule, it goes 2, 3, 4 hours. That means 3 people sits and they drill you. That's what I'm going to do, diligence. If somebody comes up with an idea, come up with an idea, talk to me, let's discuss. And based on my experience, the diligence, I'm going to do it. I'm happy to support anybody.
Beautiful. That's an open invitation.
That's a great
this is what I'm
opportunity for it. Yeah.
I'm looking for.
Awesome.
I always enjoy talking to the young people with the new crazy ideas. I'm saying crazy ideas too. Let's discuss. Let's talk.
Absolutely. Another thing, right? Like even if the idea is very small, when you start talking about it, you get enormous encouragement, and also you get more ideas how to do it, like to nitty-gritty details, because you have to figure those things out. And so that's an awesome thing. Yeah, definitely.
Still, a couple of people.
Yes,
Madhavi. Still, during the COVID time, I think 4 or 5 people communicating with me regularly. How can we make money out this COVID-19 pandemic by helping people? People came up with few ideas. Yes, and then during the diligence point, then when I raised some questions, they said, yeah, that's true. I have to answer this question. And then they went back and then they did their own research. But they haven't materialized. Someone else is already ahead of us. That was the only thing. So you have to be.
Absolutely, never too late, right? Because once you start thinking about in the correct path, if not something, something else will work it out. So this is the idea that you are keep doing it in the thought process, and yeah, it will work out someday. So I see Arvind hands raised for a minute. Arvind, do you have a question?
No, I didn't raise a hand. I just clapped it. That's it.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Dr. Madhavi, I think Mr. Ravinder has been waiting this long to give vote of thanks, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So, Ravinder, please go ahead and unmute yourself. So just before Ravinder speaks up, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone, and also again apologize for missing the faculty introduction. Welcome. So we'll definitely cover in our next session. And thank you all for attending. So with that, thank you for the great presentation, Mahinder. I'm sure people will reach out to you. If not, I have plenty of questions next time we talk about this. Sure. We have 3 more sessions coming up. So yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity, Madhavi. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Ravinder, please carry on. Unmute yourself, Ravinder. Can't hear you. We are unable to hear you.
We still can't hear you, Ravinder.
Some problem, I think.
Maybe he has to re-log in.
Yeah.
Can you re-log in?
Log out and log in, Ravinder.
మీరు చెప్పేది వినిపించట్లేదు రవీందర్. మళ్ళీ లాగిన్ ఒక్క నిమిషం. లాగ్ ఆఫ్ అయ్యి ఒకసారి లాగిన్. So sorry. He's been there since 4:40 here. ఒకసారి లాగ్ అవుట్ అవ్వండి రవీందర్. And
మీటింగ్ నుంచి వెళ్ళిపోయి మళ్ళీ లాగవండి.
Is he going to do it now? Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, now you are audible.
Now you can
Carry on, please.
Yeah. Good evening, all. I am Ravinder, working as a senior research fellow under the supervision of Professor Ashok sir, and I take the privilege on behalf of all my co-research scholars and MSc students of Department of Chemistry, Usmania University, Hyderabad, and to thank Dr. Mahinders Deval sir on occasion of Step Up Mentoring Program, Entrepreneurship. And Dr. Mahinders Deval sir explained very detailedly about the entrepreneurship program, like what is an entrepreneurship, what is an entrepreneur, types of entrepreneurship, especially the biotech startups. He gave the detailed idea about the steps involving in the entrepreneurship for the basic entrepreneurs or initiators. He also mentioned the risks and legal factors in the startups. And Dr. Deval sir mentioned the fundings from the various departments in the US, also in Indian government, whoever is going to stop the entrepreneurships. I would like to thank Dr. Mahinders Deval sir for his valuable talk and sharing his valuable suggestions in his entrepreneurship journey. Sir, most of us are motivated to your journey, sir, and I would think that most of us are choosing this entrepreneurship program, sir. And I also thanks all the members of the alumni mentors for sparing their valuable times for giving us this opportunity and to enlightening us in various aspects like entrepreneurship programs and mentor programs. And I would like to extend the thanks to the head department of chemistry, all the faculty members for conducting this program. And also I would like to thank Dr. Madhavi Madam for her graceful conduction of the program, all the co-research scholars and students, and not but the least, I would like to thank Dr. Padmasri Madam for giving this opportunity to present the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Ravinder.
And all the
Thank you, Ravinder.
participants.
Thank you very much, Ravinder.
For
All the best.
patiently waiting for
Yeah.
your opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madhavi, one thing I recommend is probably, I think from next session onwards, 15 minutes before we have to check all the speakers, make sure their mics are working, and then they're able to, to avoid this kind of confusions from future. Yes.
Yeah, I think we will check. That's a great suggestion, Mahendra. We will check initially itself, just because of the network hiccups. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Thank you. Yeah. So with that, I would like to thank. Padmasri, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just asking. Shall we wind up?
Yeah. So thank you all for participating today's session, and thank you for Department of Chemistry and also head of the department and the faculty, and definitely alumni, research scholars and students. Really appreciate your participation, and have a great day, and see you guys next week with a different presentation from Bhaskar sir. Okay, have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you on behalf of the department also, Mahinders sir, for a wonderful presentation, all the mentors, and special thanks to Bhaskar sir for joining us this week, and all the scholars and the MSc students. Thank you very much. I want to close the session now. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madhi. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Padmasri.